Hello. I thought I'd take this time while I'm in quarantine to go over my watch collection with everybody. I've got the watches arranged here in the order that I purchased them, and there's been quite a few players in between here, which maybe I'll do another video on how I got to this state of the collection. But I'm going to start by talking about this one. This is the Hamilton Khaki. I have it on a strap because it's kind of like my operational watch, you know, when things are hitting the fan and you need to have some military time. This is a good one to wear, I think. I got it originally from Gemma Shop, and I got it like maybe, gosh, 6-7 years ago. It was really my first good watch, automatic winder. I spray painted it, as you can see, matte black, put masking tape on here and then masking tape on the bottom, and then cut around it with an X-Acto. And that's just like Rust-Oleum black paint, but I kind of like the way that it gives it a vintage kind of look. It's a good watch. I hardly ever wear it anymore, to be honest with you, but I can't really bring myself to sell it. Who knows? Maybe someday, but what's a couple $100? Especially now that I've kind of customized it. I doubt that somebody's going to be willing to pay top price for it. So she just kind of chills out. I used to have it on the metal bracelet, but obviously not anymore. This is the only one I have on a full Zulu NATO strap. Next up is the Rolex Explorer 214270, the Mach 1 or Mark 1 or first edition, also known as the T-Rex, also known as the best damn watch in the world. All the haters out there who say that the hands are too short can pound salt as far as I'm concerned. I think this is a gorgeous watch, and the gold indices really add a level of class that the full lume version just doesn't have. I really think this is a special watch, to be honest with you. And I'm just going to show you, like, I feel like people don't really understand. Rolex didn't design this by accident. You know, everybody says on the forums, like, oh, they just reused the hands. But, like, if you look at it, it's perfectly like that. That's not a mistake that lines up just like that with the white on white. And then if you go to any of the indices, it's perfectly aligned. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Let's see if I can make sure we're zoomed in right here. Look at that. It's perfectly aligned. I think it's just super classy, and I love it. And I love the fact that people hate it. I love the fact that I got it for $3,700 when everybody was dumping them for the full lumed versions. I think it's freaking rad as hell, and I wouldn't get rid of it. If I had cancer and was going to die, this is the watch I would have them bury me with. I wouldn't sell it. It would go to the grave. And then probably the Undertaker would take it off my wrist at the funeral home, but that's besides the point. Next up is, actually, I got this one before this one. This is the old Black Swan of the Rolex collection. Now it's the princess at the ball, if you will. It's the, what is it called? The 1167, what, 10LN? AKA the GMT-Master 2, all black. Some weirdos online call it the Dark Knight or something like that, but I just call it the second best freaking watch in the world. And I have it obviously on a black two-piece NATO strap. This is the watch that I typically wear to work. I have it set to tell me what time it is in Hawaii, because I have some folks I work with out there right now, and I'm presently on the East Coast. And so it's actually really handy. And then if I need to communicate, like my folks live, I think, in California, not I think, but they do live in California. So it's super easy to just turn that back to whatever I needed to in order to remind myself what time it is in California. This is a great watch, and I got it because I used to have a no-date sub, but the bubble back on that no-date sub just made it too ugly on my wrist, like it bulged out, you know. These lugs are a little bit thinner than they are on the sub, and I think it's just a classier watch, and it's great that it's like super popular now. since they discontinued it. I think I picked mine up for, what, $7,200? Just when things were starting to go up for it. I mean, you could get them just months before I picked mine up for maybe 64. Now what, they're tracking 9.5, 10, 11, depending on where you're shopping, who you're getting them from. This is an awesome, awesome watch. I love how legible it is. I love that it's black and it kind of has that sub look, but it's certainly not. And I love that, kind of like this one, you know, people used to hate on it. This is still kind of hated on, but I think people are going to come around to it. And this is going to be a classic for sure. And I really don't think they're going to re-release one with black, to be honest with you. This is the Seiko. Golly, I don't even know what the serial number is on it. Let's see if we can find it on there. 7S26 maybe, 0050. I actually bought this in Japan. A colleague of mine had the 40 millimeter version of this, and I thought it was so cool. And they had kind of like the bezel is here, it was faded out, all original. And I hunted all over Tokyo looking for a similar watch. And the very last shop that I hit at the end of the day, which is right by the, you know, basically the National History Museum there in Tokyo, had this sitting in the window with the faded bezel and everything. And it's just the coolest watch in the world, I think. It really fits well on your wrist. If you're, this wrist is like 7 inches, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on how hard you want to squeeze the tape. But the watch itself is like 37 millimeters. And I think it's super cool, man. This is the watch that I wear when I want to still have a nice watch on that I really enjoy, but I don't want to necessarily have people saying, oh, is that a Rolex by chance? Sometimes you're in company and you just feel like it's not really appropriate to be wearing a freaking Rolex watch, but this one is pretty neat. I love it. The bracelet's still in really good shape. It's got hardly any bend into it for having been so old, and it's been fully serviced by the shop I bought it from in Japan, so that's pretty neat. And just in case I didn't do it, let me give you a quasi-wrist shot of what this thing looks like with the band on it. I think it's great. The band, by the way, is from Cincy Watch Straps. It's really thick. It's really nice. Shout out to Cincy Watch Straps. It's a great product. This guy, you'll notice I have on a Jubilee, the 116622. This is an aftermarket Jubilee that I initially bought for this so that I can kind of follow the trends of how Rolex is doing their GMTs. This is a great watch as well. This is the watch I typically wear on the weekends. When I get home on Friday, I throw this puppy on, and until I get up for work on Monday morning, this is on my wrist. I think the Jubilee really makes it pop, and I love how it kind of like really just adds to the classiness and the dressiness of this watch, but it's still super legible. The bezel on here is still handy enough, and that's also another reason why I think this is really one of the ultimate watches, is because you can still use the bezel as a timer if you need to. It's not exact, but I mean, shoot, if you can time it between 3 minutes or so at a pop, that's not bad. This watch is the one that I would probably, this one, get rid of first if I ever had to unload them. But I think that it's pretty darn cool. And sometimes I wear this on a strap. Like at the office, I used to wear this one on a strap, but now I have it on this cool GMT, or the cool Jubilee. And I think it just looks awesome. I think it looks super classy. And this is the watch that I wear also sometimes when I just want to feel a little luxurious. Like this watch feels like an expensive watch. Obviously, it has a platinum bezel. It's got that sunburst blue dial that you can see there. It's got that red lollipop second hand. And sometimes people will look at it and say, oh man, that's really cool. But it doesn't also pop out as a Rolex. If you're just wearing it on your wrist out and about town, nobody, unless they're really looking or they're a watch snob, is going to realize you have a Rolex on your wrist. Last but not least is the only two-tone that I have and the only gold piece that I have. And I had flirted in the past with getting a full gold Yacht-Master. I'd flirted with getting the rose gold Yacht-Master that's two-tone. that has the black dial. I actually bought that once and then returned it because that rose gold just looks fake as hell. It looks like something from Michael Kors that you see anywhere on the street. And then I kind of got into these guys, and I think it's super rad because it's still got that same kind of like lollipop look. This is also really handy because it has a timer on it. It has got a bezel that you can use to time, and it just looks super impressive if you ask me. It's got that hidden clasp, and it's just something else. I wear this a lot, like if I'm going to go out, or sometimes if I'm just feeling a little bit fun, I'll throw it on. Also, I like to wear this at the airports for some reason. Whenever I fly, I like to throw this puppy on. It's 36 millimeters, which has a nice classy look. The worst thing about it is it's got terrible lume at night. Like it'll usually shine if it's 4 a.m. and I wake up. I can usually tell if it's really dark in the room what time it is just from the reminiscent lume. But that's really something, if you look at all my watches, that I value and I pride on, is having something that I can wear and look at in the middle of the night. I do wear my watches to bed, and lume-wise, these are probably the worst. These are probably the best. This one's pretty good. Actually, these two are really tied, but these two are really good. So that's my collection. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see any videos on specific watches, let me know.